Good evening and welcome to the Online Wine Tasting Club. I'm Alex and this is Jamie.
I'm me.
He is him,
There we
indeed.
are, fantastic.
It's lovely to see so many of you and welcome to any new attenders and welcome back to those of you who've been with us for a while, which is a good number of you. So thank you for that. Today,
Chardonnay.
Now,
And then
yes,
Chardonnay, followed by Chardonnay. A couple more Chardonnays, and we will finish up tonight with a Chardonnay.
quite possibly some more Chardonnay. But I mean, it's been a while since we did a single grape focus. I think the only other one we've done it for, so we did a sort of a Pinot family of grapes one, and
Riesling.
We did Riesling. We obviously did Riesling because Jamie. In fact, we've done Riesling Germany versus the world, Riesling German Masterclass.
Riesling because it's Riesling.
Yes,
Exactly.
yeah. Any
But that
Riesling
has very little to do with Chardonnay.
No, Chardonnay. Should we explain what on earth is going on the front cover of this this thing? What is this wonderful AI picture that you have made for us?
You say AI. That's a photo I took.
A photo
while
you
I was
took, naturally.
traveling the vineyards. Clones, obviously, clones. But I think, and I'd love to get people to dive into the chat as they do this, because I think Chardonnay is a very, very polarizing grape. Some people have had some wonderful experiences. Some people have had some less wonderful experiences. Some people go, I will never ever drink Chardonnay again. Some people go, this is the only thing I choose to drink. So I would love to hear anyone's kind of stories or comments in the
same way that I have a history with Beaujolais. Let us know what you think. You know, what are your prejudices or your preconceptions coming into this tasting? Are you a fan or are you a kind of oh god, what are we going to see? So but yes, should we get wine one in the glass before we start doing that?
So what we pull out? Do you want to get the slider up while I do some wine pouring?
I shall.
But I think what I've attempted to do this month with Chardonnay is to have a thing that not all Chardonnays are created equal. There's lots of different styles. There's lots of different quality levels. For me, it's one of those grapes that because you're
on wine of the night already. That's a bit premature.
That is a bit getting excited, isn't it? And I think there's the point that, you know, there has been so many people through my career going, I don't like Chardonnay, anything but Chardonnay, that kind of thing. And I think you're still on wine of the night. And I think what's important here is people go, I don't like Chardonnay, and I make it, when people go, I don't like something, I make it my life's work to get them to like that kind of style. And I think there is, you know, Chardonnay kind of sits, especially the old world styles, and a lot of wines in general, they get named by the region rather than by the grape.
Absolutely.
You know, we go, I don't like Chardonnay, and that might be because you've had those kind of like those big over oaky style. And I love an oaky style of Chardonnay, so I'm not saying that's a good style, bad style, whatever.
Yeah.
But if I had £1 for every time someone says I don't like Chardonnay, but I love a Chablis, not very dissimilar to I love Sauvignon, I don't like Sauvignon Blanc, but I love Sancerre, that kind of thing. And you know, the Somme in me, that's kind of, you know, it's a little bit amusing. But it also shows that wine can be a little bit snobby and a little bit arrogant. That you know, why shouldn't people know that a Chablis is Chardonnay? But anyway, we are starting off, and we are kind of
we're starting where we started.
A, close to home, and B, a little trip down memory lane. So when we first started this whole rigmarole of getting wines in front of people to taste, we thought we'd get out to the vineyards, and our very first was it the first stop? It was the very first stop, wasn't it? Because we did that before we went to Balfour. We went down to Simpson's Wine Estate, and we had a GoPro on the back of the car, and it was
we had GoPros everywhere. It was ridiculous. We'd seen sort of like how all these YouTubers do this, and then we got a bit carried away, and we didn't realize that some of these YouTubers who do all this professional stuff, like Sorted Food, for example, they have a team of 30 people who are behind the scenes making it all happen. So it was
So it wasn't so much the filming; it's the editing.
It was the editing afterwards, especially when you've got.
But anyway, so we are down in Kent, and to be fair, I'm very excited. I'm going down to Kent to some vineyards.
Well, you're going back to Balfour, which was our second stop, don't you? So yeah.
But so we are down. You know, quite close to Canterbury. Down in Kent, and this is Simpson's Wine Estate. I just think it's quintessentially England. You know, when we talk about God, there's people are going to shoot me. What an English style of Chardonnay is, because that is now a whole thing in itself. But when we talk about crisp, clean, mineral, acidity, freshness, I think these guys are very, very good at that style.
I couldn't agree more. They do have another one called the Roman Road, which is a richer, more fully bodied, more oaky style of it. And in just those two wines, you've covered quite a good sort of amount of the spectrum. But it's quite interesting. The Gravel Castle Chardonnay is their sort of, you could call it their entry-level Chardonnay, which nothing is very cheap and cheerful in English wine. But you might, if you are a frequenter of certain supermarket chains or of certain online wine clubs that involve taking your clothes off, as well as us, which is totally fine if you are. For example, the Naked, they do a Chardonnay made in England by Ruth and Charles Simpson. And so you might think, I can get an absolute bargain by buying this wine through a supermarket or through Naked. And do you know what? You will get a beautiful Chardonnay made by Ruth and Charles. But the difference is, obviously, in the winemaking, they're reducing the costs on that side of things, but also they buy in a lot more grapes that aren't grown from their own site. Now, they're perfectly good grapes, but that's where the kind of differences come. So don't go and sort of compare the Gravel Castle Chardonnay to some of the other ones you might see around.
So, but the history of this is quite interesting. So Ruth and Charles started their winemaking in the south of France, and they still have vineyards and a winery down there.
Yep.
Brilliant. And it was 2012 they came back and
decided
there was the potential to make what they class as world-class wine in England. And I think from having grown grapes in other places, I think we went for a long time, and it's gone away recently. We used to 10 years ago. Once again, English winemakers are going to beat me up for saying this. We used to give English wine the benefit of the doubt. We go, this is pretty good for an English wine. Not dissimilar. When I lived in Washington, D.C., you know, the wines in Virginia and those kind of surrounding Virginia, Maryland, the lesser known areas, people go, that's pretty good for Virginia.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But where we seem to have got to in England with a lot of these wines is that is just a really good wine. That happens to be English.
For the sake of those, like a very, very brief history of English winemaking and why it started like that. I mean, people have been making wine in England since the Roman times, but it was always, you know, it was never quite as good. We forget how much the climate has changed, and the climate changing and warming up, you know, while globally it's a terrible thing, it has certainly helped us grow grapes. Like, you know, that's not enough of a thing to undo any of the bad things that have happened with climate change, but it certainly has made a big difference. But when the sort of pioneers of the modern English wine industry started out, which was kind of in the sort of late 60s, early 70s, they thought, well, we've got a really cold, wet country here. What can we possibly grow that will actually ripen enough? Because, you know, when they tried doing sort of the more classic grapes, they just didn't. So they went to Germany.
And it was grow something that was safe, get a yield, and can make wine, regardless of it was safe.
Yeah,
safe to do that.
And if you read through the sort of the how to become an English winemaker textbooks from that era, which I have done, it's very different, quite a basic.
I just want to dive in very quickly, and you can continue. I just want to make sure that Sophie's number is exact. Is that correct? Is that factual?
I think that's factual. I'm going to take it as factual.
Okay, just next time I take an exam, I'm going to take that one with me. It's really important.
Good point on the handy rip point. Yes, that's a definite breakthrough from what we have. So then, of course, what happened was there were a couple of wineries started taking a bit of a punt on could we make sparkling wines, because with sparkling wines you don't have to get the grapes as ripe, because what you do is you add a bit of sugar to make a second fermentation, which adds a bit more of the alcohol, and of course a lot of the flavors come from the sort of the secondary winemaking process, the aging into barrels, the aging it on the lees of the second fermentation, the sort of the dead yeast cells after that's done. It's it basically you can get away with a lot more on underripe grapes with sparkling wine, and so we started to see the Ridgevy's and Nye Timbers of the world really impressing people, and a lot of them planted the champagne clones of the grapes, and not so many planted the still wine clones, which I think we've got a little bit of a guide in the book, but we'll go into that later. But it's only really in the recent years that people have actually realized that we can make world-class still wines from noble grapes like Chardonnay and Pinot Noir.
And I completely agree. And I think there was a point that when people first started playing around with still wines,
that's good.
They were just taking slightly riper champagne clones and making a still wine. So you had this massively high acidity. This massively underripe, and it wasn't great.
They're quite simple flavors, a lot of those grapes.
Crisp, clean, bright, fresh, delightful.
Exactly.
And then, but you see from here, we've got a lot of those things that we talked about. That crisp, like acidic, lime, lemon, fresh, sharp. But there is something about it. It's not nothingness. Sometimes you get these kind of, these light, high acid grapes, kind of cool climate, Italian Pinot Grigio that is just lemon, acid, cold.
Lemon, yes, exactly. And that's fine. It's a nice simple texture. Now, we've got a really great comment here. There's lots of great comments coming in. Goodness me, well done. This is great stuff, you guys. So, is it sacrilege to say this wine would be best enjoyed with scampi and chips at the seaside? Absolutely not. No. So seafood and Chardonnay,
and especially scampi, where you've got that fried essence, that you've got that deep fried fat. A lot of people go champagne.
Yeah, champagne and fish and chips
is the perfect pairing.
Or English sparkling wine.
If you take this,
other sparkling wines are available.
Sparkling wines are available. But I think if you look at it, what you've got here is you've got a little bit of fattiness in the fish. You've definitely got some fattiness and oil in that batter.
Yeah.
And you want to have something that's fresh with brilliant acidity to kind of cut through that. So it almost acts like a squeegee on your tongue. So when you go back, you're tasting the food and wine again for the first time. And I think sometimes the most simple food, and I say simple wines, are the most magic food pairings, because the wine by itself is lovely. And the food by itself is lovely. But you bring them together and they bring the best out of each other. And I think, fish and chips with bubbles, or, a mineral-driven... Am I allowed to say mineral?
Yeah,
still allowed to say mineral? Because people are trying to ban mineral. A mineral kind of high-acid fresh Chardonnay, I think is a brilliant, brilliant pairing.
Yeah, I agree. They don't do too much this wine. They keep all of the grapes cold. They keep the fermentation cold. They press under nitrogen as well. So they're really trying to preserve the light aromas of this wine, and it's a very careful bit of winemaking they do.
Danbury Ridge Chardonnay. In fact.
Oh, we know something, don't we?
Obviously, you should buy our advent calendar because it's brilliant. But
if you were, for example, to want to blow somewhere north of £500 on an advent calendar instead, with less wine,
the wonderful people at £67 Mal are doing an advent calendar this year, and they're doing it's called a Burgundy advent calendar, but there are some Chardonnays and Pinot Noir from other places, and it includes the Danbury Ridge. We just created
we've done the press samples this
packs.
Week. Well, Jamie has made the press samples this week, and that's going to be a great opportunity if you really want to taste some super premium wines. There's some really good stuff in there.
Mad. It was a joy to make sure all the wines were in tip-top condition before we packed them.
But if we were to compare this to France, it's at that more Chablisian end of the spectrum. And I think Simpsons, I remember when we met Henry, who's the guy who shows you around if you go there. And by the way, you should go down to see it, because they do a good tour and really detailed, nice little walk around the vineyards. If
people want a quick 1-minute video, just have a look at what's going on. We have a quick 1-minute video.
So where is it?
It's the bottom left one.
Bottom left.
Simpsons. So we'll pop that on. There's no talking over it. Let's stick the
There you go. It didn't say a huge amount,
No.
but it shows you, it gives you some context of where we're talking. A classic Kentish village, halfway between Canterbury and Dover, on the old Roman road that connected the two. And yeah, really beautiful vineyards, nicely looked after, nice slopes, so they can.
But the most important thing about it,
you have to wear a summer dress to go to the winery.
No, if you go into the tasting room, the only way to get down is down the slide. So they have a slide in their tasting room, which I think we've got a little picture of that as well.
Okay, yep.
It's that one that's a bit glowy, glow in the dark.
Glow in the darky.
Yes, there you go. Little helter-skelter down into the tank room to get some good wines.
Excellent. I think that if I remember right, that winery has got an awful lot busier. That's Ruth and Charles and their dogs. It's a great place. They're lovely people, and their Roman Road won a seriously prestigious award. So I think that's the thing which is getting it. Of all of the white wines that England make, it is our Chardonnays that are now starting to really win big on the world stage. And so you had this tiny little winery that's under the arches in Battersea, isn't it? Which is Sergio Varillo's, I can't remember what it's called.
How is that going? That's going to come to me.
I think they're all the time.
Black
Book Winery, yes. Their Chardonnay. Did it come second? Painter's Light, which again comes from Essex, of course. Came second in the world at the Chardonnay Masters competition, which is staggering, for a small batch wine made in Battersea. So Chardonnay is where England can really thrive, and I think Danbury Ridge is now, for me, the new kind of champion of that. But it's a very pricey wine.
Wonderful style.
It's great. But I remember the Balfour, the Springfield Chardonnay.
Springfield is brilliant.
We've had the some other great ones.
Icebrook makes some fantastic Chardonnay,
and their next door neighbours, Oxney as well.
Oxney, where the badgers eat this. Good the badgers eat the grapes.
So good the badgers eat the grapes. I think that's probably one of the places where the whole stupid badger thing came from. Brilliant badger thing. And I think the other one which we've identified that we really liked over time is the Lyme Bay winery Chardonnay, which they source their grapes from Essex. But there's new ones starting up all the time. So England and Chardonnay is a great combination. But let's have a final look at these. Gusbourne as well. Gusbourne makes some sensational stuff.
Popping down there tomorrow.
Oh, you're going there as well?
Yes.
Interesting. I think compared to the first time I tried this gravel cluster, I think the 2024 was a little bit of a challenging year. It's not as good as the one that we had, which was a 2018, I think, last time. Yes, it was 2018, wasn't it? Because it was that killer year that English wine had.
Oh, that was the year that I felt sorry for anyone who had started winemaking in England that year.
This is easy. Yeah, and then along came some of the following years. Great year this year for a lot of the wine growers. Lots of cool tasting notes. The ones you'd expect from those kind of citric fruits, and also the apples, and they preserve a little bit of the malic acid, I think, on this one. Partial malolactic fermentation. So they kept a little bit of that because apple is such a wonderful English flavour, isn't it? So I think that's great. But it's stony, metallic, zesty, clean, saline, chalky. There's some great stuff there, and high acidity compared to a lot of Chardonnays, probably more than the Aussie ones, if we're being honest.
But I think this is the point. This is where we've got 6 Chardonnays today to go through the different styles. Again, not all Chardonnay is created equal. So probably time for a little bit of wine number 2.
Let's go to wine number 2. So we are now heading to South Africa, and particularly the absolutely beautiful Stellenbosch region. I don't think you'll find someone who goes to Stellenbosch who doesn't somewhat fall in love with it. And it's obviously the heart of the South African wine teaching industry as well. We are coming to it's quite hard to describe this winery, isn't it? Because it's the project of this husband and wife team winemakers, the Mulliners, who have their own named winery as well. But you know a bit more about this story than I do.
It's a project that came around in 2021 from Mulliner. And Mulliner make some brilliant wines,
quite expensive wines.
But this is very much about great wine, community, the people who are involved, giving back. So based in Stellenbosch, but they source grapes from Stellenbosch, from Franschhoek, from Elgin, and bring them in. But what's great about this is this project is owned by the people who run it, from the winemaker to the people doing harvest, for the people that pack the boxes, for the people who do the deliveries. It's
people who scrub the press out and clean the winery floor.
Everybody is a part of this winery, and if you see the logo on it.
Shall I can
I bring it up there? Yeah, that's all right. That's close enough.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So it's got wagtails on it, and wagtails in South Africa are a sign of bravery and going through the hard times. But it's slightly warmer climate, so you get a little bit more richness. This goes through malolactic fermentation or malolactic conversion, which is where you take the sharp high acid malic acid, which when you bite into an apple, that's kind of what malic acid is, and then that turns it into that lactic kind of cream, so you get this softer, richer, rounder mouthfeel. So I'm not usually one to chuck tasting notes out early, but I think where we are with the previous one, a lot of green apple, a lot of citrus, this is going to go more into the baked apple and maybe a touch of tropical, a little bit of stone fruit in there. And it does see a little bit of oak, so you're going to end up with those vanilla, those toasty, that roundness. Whereas I think the first one was a very kind of like austere Chardonnay, directional, linear, boom kind of one. This is much more of a give you a hug Chardonnay. Yeah,
it's lovely. It's really lovely, and they're using slightly bigger French oak barrels at 500 litres than you tend to find. Most people use a sort of 225 litre Burgundy barrel. I think that it's really interesting because
it's a whole bunch.
It's a whole bunch for us.
Just because you love it, a whole bunch.
So, the champagne technique of chucking the whole clusters of grapes in and then pressing them rather than running them through a crusher to break the skins first. The theory behind it is that the stalks that the grapes are on provide channels for the juice to flow out of, away from the rest of the grape that's left behind, a little bit more easily, so you can be a bit more gentle in pressing it. It's one of those things where it forms part of people's philosophy, and some people love it and some people prefer the other way. So,
but it's got big barrels, so you've got some oak. It's French oak, so it's not that overly vanilla-y American oak.
So expensive oak as well.
But it gets left on the lees for about 6 months as well, so you can get that kind of little bit of texturalness. But because it's not in a tiny little barrel, it's not overdone, and it's just left to sit on the lid. There's not a lot of batonnage going on, so they're not stirring it around.
No,
it's just there to bring it all in.
No, this is really great. This is the wonderful thing about Chardonnay, isn't it? That some people, the moment they get that sort of vanilla, and in particular a chemical that gives it this really sort of buttery popcorn thing called diacetyl. And I learned something that I didn't know last week. We had a very wonderful lady, one of the country's fastest, sort of most quickly growing in reputation sommeliers. She's in a sort of list of the people to watch, and she came in and she is studying for her Master of Wine, so it's coming to learn a bit about what we do and help us out. And I obviously we hear, generally speaking, malolactic conversion is malic acid plus a bacteria called Enococcus eni, which goes chomp 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 and produces lactic acid. That's the technical process.
The old chomping.
and here we have the contrasting view. But it turns out that if you have a presence of citric acid as well, so there's all sorts of different acids in wine. You often get citric acid in a Chardonnay. That's what gives it those lemony flavors. During that citric acid, during the malolactic conversion process, the citric acid also gets turned into this diacetyl. So I can't tell you the mechanism more of how that happens, but you'll certainly get that. Now, you then find winemakers who, some people love that and some people hate that diacetyl. And that's where you then get projects like the bread and butter Chardonnay, don't
That
you?
go, boom, we are going to take all of that.
We will give you all of that at the lowest cost possible.
But this is, I think this has got it, but it's not.
Yeah, it's subtly done.
It's subtly done. It's not like some of the big, now like the Kisslers and the Peter Michaels of the world and things like that. They're just like, boom, here's a tree, but a really well done tree.
Rich, but not in your face. More Bill Gates than Donald Trump. Yes, I think if the bread and butter could be described as the Donald Trump of Chardonnay, perhaps. And you might like that. You might not. I will leave that to you.
But this, you talk the butter popcorn. This is very, yes.
It has that.
And I hadn't gone with butter popcorn until it was said. And now all I can think about is sitting in the cinema and go, I don't want popcorn. I'm going to drink this instead. And for my popcorn, it's done. It's brilliant. But what and not that I love that it's so polarizing, because it would be great if people like the same one. It'd be much easier to sell to people, wouldn't it? You all like the same thing.
Yeah.
But it shows that people go, this is what I'm cautious about. This is what I love about it. And that's the thing. It's not, there's not a right answer.
Well, that's the whole thing. A masterclass, we'll try not to lecture you too much about it. I'm sorry, we've got into, hopefully we've got a majority of this sciencey bit out the way now. We can just go on enjoying the wines. But I think it's the great point of a masterclass is just to taste across the range of these things and see what you do.
Look how many tasting notes.
Look at those tasting notes. That is crazy. Lemon zest, lemon curd,
salted butter.
Oh, amazing. So, caramel as well. There's definitely that hint.
I'm just interested. Okay, so there's heavy oak in that. Okay, and I would like whoever, and I'm not saying anyone's right or wrong.
So this is a calibration thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Whoever said heavy oak, when we get further down the line, to come back to me and go, was wine number 2 heavy oak?
Yeah. So that's a very good question. Yeah, the pick the premium tasting. We did it. Yeah. We did the sorted pick the premium tasting a while back. That was we've still got a few in stock.
About a dozen if we're lucky.
Maybe I think 10. I saw a couple more went out, so I think it's just 10. So yeah, grab one of those and watch the video. It's a really fun and interesting event because again, it was very much a question of what is people's taste. And I think for people who don't drink wine as much as like we do, which is not hard.
That's not many people.
Not many people. No, there's it was very intriguing to see how their taste skewed more towards fruity and slightly sweet and simpler flavor profiles.
Easier drinking. Oh, absolutely.
Easier drinking.
But I think sometimes when you're sat drinking, the easier drinking wine is the thing. I think sometimes we geek out a bit and go, this will go really well with food and this, and we can almost imagine it with other things rather than going, I like that, don't like that, and it's more of less of a binary decision. More, I could like this because we're geeky and annoying, and that's why people think wine is geeky and annoying. But we try.
We're not here to tell you which of these you should like because
you should like all. You should like all of them and buy a case of each.
The chat in the sorted tasting was insane. It was impossible to keep up with it, wasn't it? Yeah. But yes, more tasting notes should equal more complexity. That is an absolutely very valid point. So, and I think a lot of these tasting notes, the complexity is so much of it is driven by that climatic side. 2024 in England was a hard year to make wine, especially still wine. And but 2025 will not be I wouldn't be surprised to see some 14, 15.
2025 is going to be a different year.
Yeah.
Who was it you were saying has already started harvesting, or was someone? There's people out.
There are people out
already
today harvesting grapes. They were doing it yesterday, weren't they?
Yeah.
Again, that was with some of the more sort of Germanic varieties, I think.
Oh no, absolutely. But what I'm saying is, harvest is happening in the middle of August, rather than
like
mid-September going through into October.
People were picking in late October a couple of years ago just to try to desperately get a bit of ripeness on it. So yeah. Let's move the tasting notes on because I think this will be a very interesting follow-on to go on to wine number 3, which is Giant Steps. Now, I'm not going to make my stupid Giant Steps what you take walking on the moon comment again because I did that last time. And you've just done it. I didn't. So I didn't. I could have. I led Jamie through this entire thing, trying to make him believe that it had been taken on the Apollo 11 journey and stuff. But no, it hasn't. That's a lie. Especially because Giant Steps was founded in 1997,
named after the John Coltrane album.
Oh, okay.
Because that's one of Phil Sexton who created its favorite. So Australia, believe it or not, I get excited when it comes to Australia. So Phil Sexton.
Is that because Yarra Australian fan?
Oh my word! Right. So Phil Sexton started in Margaret River and then came over to Yarra Valley to open up to do Giant Steps. Did have two brands there. There was Giant Steps and there's Innocent Bystander. And when I went there, I just for kind of like the eco kind of thing. Innocent Bystander was being served behind the bar out of kegs, and this was in 2008, 2009. So well ahead of its time for being that kind of like sustainable driven kind of stuff.
Yeah,
that brand got sold in I think 2016 to Brown Brothers.
Honestly, the innovations the Australians and New Zealand,
because Innocent Bystander was a more mass-produced drinking, get on with it kind of wine. And Giant Steps wanted to go very much after the more premium end.
Yeah.
So we're in Yarra Valley, and Yarra was so interesting. So we were in Adelaide, and we'd done Adelaide, we'd done McLaren Vale, been to Penville. It was hot, really hot. And we got on a coach, and we did an overnight drive down into Yarra. Got out of the coach the next morning. It was like, this is cold. This is cold. It was vastly different. And this is why it is such a great area for Chardonnay, for Pinot Noir, for those kind of.
Well, and it's not dissimilar to being in South Africa and starting off in the heat of Stellenbosch, where they make Cabernet and Syrah and things like that, and then going to Elgin, where you're so much closer to the ocean that that's the Pinot Noir Chardonnay country down there. And then you can go inland even more, and you're not going very far before you're in these like desert-like climates with bush vines and things with Chenin Blanc, which is a nice little sort of leader on to say that we're going to South Africa next month, aren't we, to do a really interesting single producer.
You're giving away the quiz answers already.
Oh, am I?
Oh, yeah.
All right, okay.
That involve people listening
to
us.
People might also have checked our website, but anyway.
Or already bought one.
Or bought one, yep.
But I think, what you said is, when we talk about old world wines, we talk about the particular row and the vineyard and this and that makes a difference.
Yeah.
And we'll discuss that a bit later on. And then we go, and Australian Chardonnay. All is one big thing.
Yeah.
And I think Australian Chardonnay is, I think, what gave rise to the ABC Brigade, because there was so much juice, and if you weren't having great juice, how do you hide faults in the juice? Add more layers to it. And we went from, and oak became bad because oak is lovely when it's done right and nice. You got a barrel
from a nice.
It's a bit different when you chuck some sawdust in it instead to add, or oak chips and things like that. But this is
even oak extracts, chemical extracts of the tannins and the flavors.
But this is why a wine that has loads of oak on it, shouldn't be cheap. Because oak is not cheap in its.
So this is a really valid point, and I'd like to ask you what you think about this, because I'm not entirely sure what I think. And why do you think, out of all of the white wines, there's not that many that will last millions of years? Riesling's one, Chardonnay's one, some of the Sauvignons,
Grand Cru Riesling, and German Riesling.
You can go to the Hunter Valley and have Semillon, but Chardonnay is a really good one. I mean, look, you can be tasting some of these, Marceaus and Chablis from tens of years ago, and they're still a really interesting and beautiful vibrant. What is it about it that makes them so good for aging?
So, I think because you there's two things. You start with complexity, and you have layers of flavor.
Mm-hmm.
You have high acidity, which allows you to age for a long time.
Yep.
And you've got the right flavors to begin with. You've got the apples, you've got the pears, which will turn into baked, will turn into nutty, will turn into. So there's a nice transition of going from your primary to tertiary flavors. I also think Chardonnay is one of the grapes that really sees a lot of how it is made and developed. There's a lot of generally winemaking technique that goes on in Chardonnay that you don't see in Sauvignon Blanc, that you don't see in Riesling. You know, we can do oak, we can do batonnage, we can do lees, there's lots of things we can do with Chardonnay, because the flavour is quite a powerful. You know, it's neutral, but it takes on what you want to do with it. So you've got all these opportunities to manipulate Chardonnay to make it into what you want it to be. Whether you want it to be crisp, linear, done, drink it today, or you do that batonnage, you leave some yeast in there, whatever, and then that allows that to develop over time. So that's why you've got those choices. I feel there's a lot more opportunity for winemaker. You know, the people go, it happens in the vineyard. Yeah, I believe that. Okay, it happens in the vineyard. But with Chardonnay, you've got a lot of scope to be a winemaker with Chardonnay.
So acidity and complexity, and then also
did I answer the
I think
question,
you did.
Or did I just go around in a circle?
But I think I'd add something else as well. I think there's a bit of an inherent quality or not quality, style of the grape. So, for example, with your New Zealand Sauvignon Blancs, they have some character. It's not about where that particular flavour is today. It's what does it develop into. And so some of those, you know, the particular aromas that you get with the Sauvignon Blancs, particularly those very commercial styles, don't age very well. They don't oxidize very well at all. They turn into something that's a lot more horrible, and they die fast.
Because no one wants a nutty Sauvignon Blanc. No one wants almond and toast in their Sauvignon Blanc.
Do you remember us trying, was it on the London Wine Fair, like the 30-year-old under screw cap Sauvignon Blancs? That was a really interesting experiment. But that's when I'd want to go and drink it.
So I think that's sometimes the thing, you know, the som in me is like, that was really cool and interesting.
Yeah.
If someone says, do you want to buy a case? No. Would I want another glass of it?
Yeah,
maybe not.
No,
it was a cool experience to try, and you know, and on what's put there, absolutely, it just showcases what you can do. And I think, you know, blind tasting, you would absolutely go Chardonnay. You know, no one's done anything weird that goes, this doesn't taste like a Chardonnay.
No.
But if you turned around to someone who had never had a glass of wine before, and said, are these three things the same? They'd laugh at you.
So this is a great question here, which is, so how do these different styles impact the food pairings you'd recommend? They're three really different wines. So I think for me, and I'm going to hand over to the Somme, for me, the more you get into that kind of stronger, buttery flavor, it starts to head into things like roasted chickens or a nice pan-seared chicken breast, that kind of thing, or even some of those even stronger flavored poultry like sort of quail and, you know, partridge. You can
That's
those
a whole
will
different game.
Oh my word! You had to get revenge on me for that, but yeah, I think seafood will work nicely with it. But with those strong ones, for me, again, the wine 3, maybe something more like a monkfish than.
Yeah, it's all of drink what you like with what you like.
Yeah,
I've
absolutely.
always said that.
That's the primary.
But as you build, you know, something like the Roma Road, I think is beautiful for ceviche, oysters.
Yeah,
very light, very fresh,
light, subtle flavors.
The salinity of the seafood will bring out the flavors of the wine. When you come a little bit richer, you've got more place. So let's go on to the Great Heart. That is where you get to roast chicken dinner or pork belly with crispy skin or something like that. You still want to have that almost like white meat, but a little bit more fattiness. When you go richer still, and this isn't to pick a one, but we did a food and wine pairing kind of competition a fair few years back when we were still at Tring Winery, and the dinner was chicken with red wine sauce and chorizo, which screams red wine
because you've got red wine in
and
the sauce.
I paired it with a Vodka, which is Italian style, but not dissimilar to this in texture and flavor and richness, because this is weighty enough to sit on top of something else. So, you know, you can have This with, you know, if you had
thought it would have swamped to white wine.
If you have a, you know, an olive tapenade, because it's less about flavor and more about power, and this is powerful.
It is,
and therefore it can overtake other flavors and roll them at, you know. So if you have something like a, you know, a basil pesto that's really kind of this has got enough power that it might not be the perfect pairing that goes hand in hand, but this doesn't get lost, and the pesto's still there. So it's that balance of that
strength and weight,
rather than balancing flavors, you're balancing weight and texture.
I like it. I like it. That, and I think the other thing I would just like, from my point of view,
tasting notes again, hundreds of them.
And I think the fascinating thing for me is that I was expecting, so I hadn't tried the Giant Steps, I was expecting it to be a little bit less subtle than it is, a little less elegant. But Yarra is, as you say, a cooler thing. We haven't commented, but there's been a great conversation going on about the Domaine Chandon in their winery for the sparkling wines, which is in Yarra. We've been there, both of us separately.
Yeah, but that's interesting. So, you know, the Roman Road, sorry, the Simpsons make sparkling. Yeah. Great Heart, I'm not sure about. These guys are round the corner from making sparkling wine.
Yep.
When we go to the True Chard next, they are round the
they make all of the method Cap Classique down there, and like
absolutely
part, don't they? So for the
and then round the corner from True Chard is Domaine Carneros, which is the Tattinger American home. So
anywhere where you're growing Chardonnay, some's going to be making sparkling wine. That's for sure. Yeah. But I think you from reading the notes about how the wine was made, you know, hand picked, larger, older barrels. You know, only 15% of this one is new oak, and 85% is older, of course. Partial mallow again, aged, but even down to the fact that it's all gravity flow winemaking and indigenous yeast. This is an elegant wine. It's a kind of, it's not your, and I love Bob Burton, but if you were to meet Bob Burton, you would say make a wine. He's going to make a wine.
So these guys
to let it speak for itself.
There was an Australian Chardonnay Masterclass a few months back in London that I went to. And these guys, and we've got a little map if you want to chuck a little map up.
Sure.
So they've got multiple single vineyards, the big one. Yeah. So they've got lots of single vineyard sites there.
Wombat Creek
and Bastard Hill.
Oh, I can't see that one. It's hiding behind.
So obviously they make all the single vineyard stuff, and then the stuff that isn't either quite the right style to make what that vineyard's meant to represent comes together to make the Giant Steps. But these things age. They had the 2007 of the Applejack vineyard against the current vintage, and the 2000, which is brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And what was actually really nice about it is they're like, it is also available in the UK to buy. It's sometimes you go to these tastings,
you can't
try this library selection. Oh, that's great. Can I have something?
No, you can't. No, we've sold out of this. It's all on allocation.
But so you kind of got, you know, in the middle towards the left, you kind of got the home sites.
Yeah,
the Gruyere, which is where Phil kind of fell in love with the area, and that's where he started. That was where Giant Steps began.
It looks cool.
And then, you know, you can see there's different aspects, there's different slopes, there's different
different clones of grapes planted.
So therefore, it's not just the sake of having here's a massive plot of Chardonnay, let's make Chardonnay. Each place has its own little microclimate, and I think that's absolutely brilliant.
I love that. That's I hope you're enjoying that as well. That's a really fun little map. And just another, we're all on Chandon tonight, but their first winery was in Mendoza. I did not know that one. That's very cool. A lot of these places are trying to expand around the world, and of course there are increasing numbers and putting the champagne houses building in England, and now also Jackson Family Winery, who, you know, one of the really top makers of Chardonnay and Pinot in America and Oregon particularly, isn't it? They've been buying up swathes of Essex because they fell in love with the place. It's got everything you need from a winemaking region, and nobody'd heard of it. So you're not competing with a million other billionaires.
These guys are part of Jackson Family now.
Are they? Are they really? John Steps part of Jackson. Well, there you go. It explains it's why it's a nice, well-made wine.
Yeah, see, as Kevin's put that, that's, you know, it's it's because I don't want to say that someone's style is like a different style. But yeah, and you can go.
But we all do it.
do you like a fresher, more linear style?
Yeah.
You want to have the Terraford. If you want to have a more down the middle style, you want to have that kind of Wombat Creek. If you want the richer style, you want to go to Bastard Hill.
And there's brilliant. I think we should move on. And yes, just to be clear, that part of Essex, well, there are wineries all over it, but the part that's in super demand is this Crouch Valley. And if you want to know why, there's a video on why does the Crouch Valley make such good wine on our YouTube channel. So you can go and look that up. You're on it, so it's quite easy. But I think we should move on because my glass is empty. So let's move on to another wine. California, to a place that does not make false Chard; it makes true Chard.
Oh my God, you've been waiting all day for
that. I'm sure I only just thought of it, probably. Well, I'll tell you what. There is something quite interesting on the text sheets that we have, just because you never know when we're going to get asked a tricky question about what percentage of X was Y. Looking across the wines we've had so far, they haven't been a million miles different for themselves on the kind of the chemical quality of the wine, the levels of acid, the levels of sugar, the levels of the pH that you're doing, and it's not that different. And yeah, the first two were slightly lighter on alcohol for sure, but they're all trying to sit around that kind of 6.5 grams a litre of acidity. 6.7, 6.4, 6.6, 6.2. That's crazy, and they're all around less than 2 grams. Oh no, the gravel. No, they're all less than 2 grams of litre of sugar. So that's very dry. They're all very dry wines. Chemically, they're all remarkably similar. So that only just tells you just ignore. Leave that to the winemaker. It doesn't matter to anyone at home, that's for sure. But yeah, so true Chard. Let's have a look. And I'll move the tasting notes on because that's what I'm supposed to do.
All right. So I'm not meant to pick favourites. This is my style of Chardonnay.
Is that because you're American?
Yes. But this is my style of Chardonnay. I like
you can have a base bar.
I like the no messing around.
I suspect this might not be Daria's favourite. Would that be a fair comment?
But this is where I want to go for the person who mentioned heavy oak on the Great Heart, where their feelings are with this. Probably very heavy oak. So we're California. This is True Chard, and this is another wine that it's a big winery. Tony Truchard, who started up, he was a Texas farmer in the 1880s. So a relative pioneer of quality wine in California. He used to be a farmer. He used to sell his grapes out to other people, and then decided that he wanted to make his own. So it is. And it's split in, I think there's 9, maybe 10 vineyard sites now.
Yeah.
There. Vanilla coconut.
Yeah.
That may well be the American oak in there.
These are very good tasting notes. I'm enjoying this.
But yeah, 162 hectares. So 400 acres.
Still not in your face as much as many, though, is it? I think they've learnt their lesson, the quality winemakers in California. It's still definitely at the upper end of these wines, but I don't think it's into those kind of the cheap Californian Chardonnays where they.
Well, it's interesting because it's only 33% new oak.
Yeah, that's it. And again, whole bunch pressed and all of those other things we've been talking about. Yeah, and it's fermented in the oak barrels, which does generally give it a bit more oomph.
So Kathy, I remember when you very generously let us have a bottle of the Kathy.
Yeah, it's delicious.
Brilliant. It's absolutely delicious. Brilliant.
Yep. We share taste then, I think. A very good question from Sophia. You don't normally see the split of the different acid types on the text sheets. it's annoying because
a
it'd be quite fun.
A lot of time getting the tech sheet with the right vintage on is tough.
Yes, this is sadly true. The level of kind of information that many wineries make available about their wines is frustrating to anyone who wants to know a little bit more about the story behind it. But what they describe is something called the total acidity, where basically what you do is you titrate it into a base and wait until the pH goes neutral, and you see how much of the wine it took to cancel out a certain fixed amount of the alkaline, and then you express that either in an equivalent number of grams of tartaric acid, which is one of the primary ones in wine, or sulfuric acid, just if you're French and you want to confuse everyone in the wine world outside of France. Simpsons, of course, express it in both forms just to be annoying. But anyway, that does not help us with, is the wine nice? And I like this. I really like it. There are some, I think a while back we did a Napa Valley Chardonnay, which was open about it. Said we just use oak chips because it's Napa Valley fruit, so it's really, really expensive. And if we want to sell this bottle for you for less than $100, we've got to cut some corners. But to me, that's a car crash, because you're ticking the box. You know, you want to tick the box, say this is Napa fruit, but it's like putting a Ferrari engine into a Yugo or something. It's like, what's the point? The rest of it doesn't match up. You've taken this super good fruit and you've kind of masked it behind some really horrible, bitter, sort of over oaky. It's just you can't do that. You've got to do it right, and these guys are doing it right. It's really, really delicious.
Yeah,
for me, you might not agree.
They've got lots of different. They plant lots of different things. 162 hectares, of which 113 of it is sustainably farmed right now. Which, for someone that size to have that big of a percentage and still be commercially viable is pretty good. So these guys are.
They only make 20% of their grapes into their own wines.
So still lots sold.
Yep.
And so this says, if you look at the label, it says Napa Carneros. And so as far as that goes,
it's quite a big region.
So you've got Sonoma, which is more coastal, a little bit cooler. So if you get a Sonoma Chardonnay versus a Napa Chardonnay, probably a little bit lighter, a little bit elegant, a little bit more acidity. You've then got Napa, which is a little bit more inland, which is warmer, richer, riper style of fruit. And then you've got Carneros, which straddles the south of both Sonoma and Napa. So you're able to get the best of both worlds down there. And so Domaine Carneros is kind of like the gateway to Carneros. And that's where Taninger have their facility. So it's cool enough to be able to keep Chardonnay grapes at a high enough level of acidity to be able to make sparkling wine, but also you can leave it on the vine for as long as you want. And where it's a little bit more coastal, you're getting the breezes coming through, so you haven't got disease pressure. You've got a better diurnal shift compared to being, Napa, I say valley floor. Obviously, you can go hillside, hilltop, mountaintop in Napa and get this cool thing, but you can get this. Carneros has this beautiful fog come across it. So
do you remember seeing it as we drove over the Golden Gate Bridge? It was ludicrous. I've even got a little picture of that fog, just so you can see this is what cools down the vines. That's not a very high quality picture, sorry, but it sits in the bottom of the valley, and it's just
brilliant.
Around.
And if you go the right time of day, like you go across and you go across the Golden Gate Bridge, and it's rainy and miserable in San Francisco, a bit grey. And you go through and you look over to Mount, and it looks like you think it's a waterfall, because this fog is just like rolling down off the hills.
So, but you can see from this map, the pink region is where we are, Los Carneros, right down there, and it straddles across both Napa and Sonoma. Because it's the foothills before it splits, and you get that big range that goes between down the middle. So this is the end point, and this is also Los Carneros is where the Windows XP.
It's basically Carneros. Carneros is the gateway to California wine drinking. And anyone in Anderson Valley is going to be mad with me now.
And this is a gateway drug.
But I like this. I just think this is brilliant wine.
Good choice, sir. I like this one.
A lot of old vine stuff in here, 25 to 50-year-old vines. Yeah. There's some really, really fun stuff.
It's Carneros where they have the famed morning fog. I don't think consistently, no. The fog that they get in...
So your morning fog is Petaluma Gap.
Yeah.
You get that drops.
It probably does kind of tiptoe into that as well. The Petaluma Gap's a little bit lower, if I remember right. And so it sits there a bit. But... yeah, I mean, the other part, of course, of the Santa Rita Hills is you get a lot of those morning fogs in the. Well, you get it all the way down
Santa Rita Hills, Santa Barbara. If someone wants to give me 20 million quid, so I don't need to do anything else with my life, and I can go and buy a vineyard in Santa Barbara or Santa Rita, please send me a check.
So all the way down, Big Sur, in Monterey as well, especially. When I went to Monterey, it was freezing cold, and then I went down into Paso Robles, and it was 100 Fahrenheit.
I would like to. I don't want to dwell on things.
Yep.
But Sophia's comment there about things burning down.
Really.
I lived in the States for a long time and went over to California once or twice, and the places that I went, that you just go, there's another winery gone because of a fire. There's another restaurant gone because of a fire. Another this because of a fire. It's really quite sad.
It's immensely sad, and I'm just trying to remember the place that I went that burnt down as well after
the Meadows.
Yeah, Meadowwood Road. Yeah. Absolutely stunning.
Glad I'm here for you for that.
Yeah,
give you the answer.
Thank you.
Where you were,
where I've been
years before I even knew
you. So let's have a look in here. It does say coconut, but it's. I mean, it's saying it's French oak, so we're definitely tasting that. So
American badges,
sickly sweet. Now, this is a great thing, isn't it? So the sugar level in this wine is still 2 grams per liter. So in terms of the sweetness, but you're absolutely right, it can give that perception because of the ripeness of the fruit.
It's almost like
pineapple juice. That's sweet. We associate that with sweetness.
But I think it's more than that.
Yeah.
I think it's like, have you ever had a slice of birthday cake and that buttercream frosting? That's what makes it, because it's got that slight cloyingness about it. It's like buttercream frosting, and that weightiness is what makes it feel sweet and textural.
Do you know?
And that's why it's brilliant.
Malibu. I absolutely get that. Isn't that fun? A big tasty show off. I like that. And this one,
that's just me.
Definitely more Trump than Gates. But the good part of Trump, whichever it's
slightly orange.
Slightly. Let's move off politics, but yeah, fun. So this was a hard tasting to try to organize because we've now covered a range of Chardonnays and quite different places, going from the coolness of Kent all the way across to the Napa Valley and California, and we've done Australia, we've done South Africa. We've still tried to always go into the slightly cooler parts of those countries because that's where you find the best quality Chardonnays, and that's what you should do. But it does go to show that even hotter places can still make more elegant wines. And if you want to have a really bigger, what's your favorite sort of big Napa Chardonnay? Are you going into the kind of
if money's no object?
Kistler, okay, yeah.
Single beer, Kiefer Ranch Kistler.
What's the one that we've had before as well? They also make a really good sweet one, Dulce or something. I can't remember the name.
Farniente.
Farniente, yes.
Farniente is brilliant.
Yeah,
Farniente is brilliant, and then they have Nickel and Nickel, which is their single vineyard plots.
Yeah. I mean, there's plenty of money that you can spend on Californian Chardonnay, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But then, of course, you can go off to the coast and you can go up the sort of Sonoma coast ones, which are much more elegant again. So,
Farniente.
Yeah, you could do just a Chardonnay masterclass on Northern California if you wanted
the single vineyard, Farniente, and the Nickel and Nickel vineyards.
Well, yeah, that's alone. That would be an expensive one.
That'd be brilliant.
Probably not for £35 a month, but yeah. I love it. Lots of great things. Lots of flambé banana. That's brilliant. But still a bit of the lime cordial there. But then we've got people who are saying it's off-putting, and that's fine. That's absolutely fine because everyone's taste is different, and it's about calibrating where your sort of desire for these various different flavors is, and there's no shame in it. If you prefer Chablis to Meursault, oh no, what's wrong with that?
But it's the same with any wine, isn't it? You can like, am I allowed to fight Kathy on this?
And we haven't done any South American Chardonnay on this occasion. No. We shall correct that at some point, shall we?
There's not a lot of great South American Chardonnay, but when you find them, they're brilliant. There's some really good stuff in some good stuff in Uruguay. There's some good stuff in Chile.
I've dropped my straw in here somewhere. Oh, I haven't got my straw in here. That's why it doesn't work.
Okay, so
the reason I was about to take a sip of water, which I can actually pour into my glass so I don't spill it, is that I think it would be a good idea to try to cleanse your palate a little bit before we now go into wines 5 and 6. And I also think, should we pour 5 and 6 at the same time?
Yes. So where we are moving to, we are going to Burgundy. Apparently they make some Chardonnay. So we've got 2 wines from the same producer. And when we talk about Burgundy, it can get a little bit daunting about rules and regulations and what they can do. So for the scheme of today's tasting, and all those who are diploma holders and masters of wine and level 3 and all that kind of stuff, I'm going to tell you that if it's in Burgundy and it's white, it's Chardonnay, and if it's red, it's Pinot Noir. We all know there's other things.
There might be odd little exceptions,
but anyway. So when we're in Burgundy, we have ways of classifying wine, and most of the time it is about where it comes from and how small that region is and how good that region is. So you will start, if something comes from Burgundy, it can just be AOC Burgundy, which means the grapes have come from anywhere in Burgundy, and that's from Chablis all the way down to just above Beaujolais. Is that correct?
That's
just
it.
Above
exactly.
Beaujolais.
Just above Beaujolais. Yeah.
And then we can split Burgundy into 4 main regions. We've got Chablis. We've got the Côte d'Or, which is split into the Côte de Beaune and Côte de Nuit. You've then got Côte Chalonnaise, Côte Mâconnaise on your way down. And then within that, so you can have, it's from that part.
Yeah.
And then within that, you can have named villages, which will become what's called a village wine. So it'll be Burgundy, Village, Macon. Macon Village. Which, when I was teaching WSET level 2 back in the day when I was still teaching, I was talking to someone about village wine, like village wine. And they didn't click until I just turned around and go, village, it's the village.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, there we go. What a translation. So you've got, Macon Village would be your example. And then you
have to be a villager if you like this wine.
Then you pick certain vineyard sites. And you've got some very good ones, which are called your Premier Cru. And then you've got your top ones, which are your Grand Cru. So you go General AOC, Village, Premier Cru, Grand Cru. And
they'll be across the road from each other, a Village level site versus a Grand Cru site.
And, it takes long time to change. There's not often a huge amount of change of what's a Grand Cru, what's a Premier Cru. People are stuck in the ways and it is what it is.
Yeah.
It doesn't always mean the quality is better. It generally means the price is higher, but it's got the prestige. And what we're going to do with the next 2 wines, so we can get 5 and 6 in the glass. The tasting notes are up for 5, and we'll do the tasting notes for 6 in a little bit afterwards. But we've got 2 wines from Léo de Milly, which are both, it's a Chablis producer, and you've got their Bourgogne AOC, which is wine number 5. And then you've got their Premier Cru Côte de Lachey, which is wine number 6, which is a Premier Cru. So I could talk about this for forever and bore the pants off everyone and mispronounce everything. But what I think we do, we've got Bourgogne wines, and there's a little video over that kind of just gives a little chat through Chablis. It's about 5 minutes long, so don't down all your wine while you have a look. But it just kind of talks through Chablis, what makes Chablis important, a little bit about some of the villages, and then we'll come back and discuss the wines in a little bit more detail after the video.
Sounds good to me. See you in a few minutes.
discovered on the front of you the map of the Chablis vineyard. The little town of Chablis, halfway between Beaune and Paris, nestled in the Serein Valley, on the left bank of the river. The Serein River flows to the Yonne, which meets further north the Seine River. Like all the other rivers of the region, the Serein flows through the valley from south-southeast to north-northwest, and this valley has been carved out through erosion. The vast plateau, located at the southern limit of the bassin parisien, was deeply scarred by many valleys perpendicular to the main valleys. The geological structure of this region is quite simple. It involves many layers of sedimentary rock dated from the late Jurassic to the Cretaceous period, minus 155 million of years to minus 140 million of years. Under the huge weight, the sediment collapsed in the middle of the basin, pushing up the side, and the erosion attacked the softer layers, creating a relief of slope known as côte or cuesta. Just a few examples of côte. Côte des Prégiraux, côte de Savant, côte de l'Éché. Let's observe the profile of the slope. At the foot, we find some limestone with small shells in it, small fossils, and is dated from the early Cambrian, about 155 million of years ago. At the bottom, in the valley, we find thick layers of alluvions. Moving up the slopes, the limestone changes into marls, dated from the middle and late Cambrian. Those marls are very easy to recognize because they contain lots of small fossils of oysters, known as Exogyra virgula. On this level, we find most of the Chablis wines, the climat of the Chablis Premier Cru appellation, and the climat of the Chablis Grand Cru appellation. At the top of the slope, there is fine and compact limestone from the Portlandian period, about 145 million of years ago. On this plateau are located the Petit Chablis wines and also a part of the Chablis appellation. The location of the vineyard is closely linked to the geology, but one should not forget the great influence of the relief. The many valleys, which cut deep into the plateau, offered lots of different areas, sheltered from the wind and nicely exposed to the early morning and midday sun. Let's keep in mind that we are in the northern part of the Bourgogne region and the climatic conditions are quite cool. Everybody knows about the spring frost and how devastating they can be. Let's focus now on the climats which are classified Premier Cru. On the left bank, they show a wide range of orientation. For example, Côte de l'Éché, Vaillon, Montmain are facing southeast, Vaudevey, Vauligno are facing east, and Bourrois is facing south-southeast. Let's notice that the vineyards, which are facing west and northwest, are classified Chablis. On the right bank, the orientation varies from east to west, with many vineyards facing south, like Vaucoupin, Mont-de-Milieu, Fourchaume. Don't forget also the 7 climats classify Chablis Grand Cru as Blanchot, L'Éclos, Valmure, Grenouille, Vaudésir, Preuze, et Bougros. To sum up, we can say that the combination of the nature of the soil, the orientation, the altitude, and the degree of shelter explains the great diversity of the Chablis wines.
Welcome back. Do you know what? I found that absolutely fascinating. I love the fact they were able to overlay those little individual bits of land with the drone footage and just put the label on it. But what a tapestry of precious, precious little vineyards. Just a really unique and special place. I love it. Dan has very cleverly noticed that we did have featured this wine in our Advent calendar before. We thought it was great to then have this wine compared to the Premier Cru, and you saw this actual hill, that little bit there that we are talking about, that we are taking you to that exact part of the village, and of course the sub-region of Mealy. So
So Mealy is the town, and you've got Old Mealy, and then you've got Côte de Leche, which is just going up the slope that goes up the hill from the town. So what's interesting about this, and I'm gonna kind of jump between the two wines here. Should we have a little look at the tasting notes?
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah,
because
it'll be good to.
I think a lot of people probably had our Advent calendar, probably tasted this, and that's where we are. So
it's like lager. I love it.
So
there is a touch.
My thought is we take this. If anyone's got any comments about it, chuck it in the chat. But let's move the tasting notes on to 6 because I want to see where the difference is.
There's a really interesting comment now. A little straightforward. Do you know what? If this was the wine that we kicked off with, I don't think we'd be saying it's a little straightforward. But compared to, let's say, the Truchard Carneros Chardonnay, it's a very different beast. Yeah, and that's why I was saying it's really
this is almost a tasting of 2 parts, and it's global Chardonnay and then comparison to this.
Now we're back in the world of crisp, clean, simple ones.
So what's interesting about Eau de Mealy is the family has 47 hectares across Chablis.
Yeah.
They have 9 hectares in Côte de Leche, which makes them the biggest holder in that. And what's when you're in California, when you're in Australia, most people own their vineyard. Unless you're an absolutely massive vineyard and you've got
it's a piece of land that's got a border around it.
I put my name on it. Dave's Vineyard. In Burgundy, because of land and inheritance rules, it's parcel upon parcel upon parcel upon parcel.
It could be down. A row of vines, half a row of vines.
So these guys have 9 hectares in the Premier Cru.
Yeah, that is a lot. Yeah,
which makes them the biggest owner there. But those 9 hectares are split between 25 different parcels. So it's not I've got my bit here in the top northwest corner. I've got my bit here, my bit here, my bit here, my bit here, my bit here. So you've got to go around and manage all these different parts, which is absolutely insane.
There's a wonderful, if you ever want to see the kind of many of you might have seen this film. There's a film called Back to Burgundy, and it shows so many different aspects of what we're talking about here. The fact that as a father or parents die and the land gets passed down, it gets split between brothers and sisters. But then the fact that you are managing a row of vines right next to a competitor of yours, and you're literally working the same piece of land a couple of feet away from each other, and that can lead to some conflict, we should just say. So yeah, if you haven't seen the film Back to Burgundy, it's a very, very special film. I really enjoy it. So the wine pyramids, I think it's a fascinating thing, because I think it's fair to say if you're dealing with the same producer, then you will, if you don't see an increase in quality as you go up from Bourgogne to Bourgogne Village to to Premier Cru to Grand Cru, if you don't see an increase in quality, they've done something wrong. But you might not like it as much.
Yeah,
that's a difference.
I'm in 2 different things. Like, an increase in quality personally versus a difference in style. To Sophia's question about how much oak has this had, it's wine 6 is 80% in stainless steel, 20% in old oak. So a little bit of oak just to bring it around to itself, but not enough oak to make it any level of oakiness. So it's much more about texture than it is about flavor.
Whereas the Eau de Mealy, the entry level one, the Bourgogne Chardonnay, is it's just stainless steel.
Stainless steel,
no oak. So
you find that your more entry level Burgundies are generally less oak, and then you get that balance as you go a little bit forward.
Shall I move it on to 6?
Oh yeah, I thought you were doing that. Or I said.
Yep.
To do
Sorry,
that.
well, we got distracted as always.
No, you got distracted.
I
was undistracted.
Okay. All right. Well, anyway, yeah. It's. So this is where, for me, it leads you into this slightly kind of perverse thing. You know that that wine is going to sell for more money, so you can afford to throw some more expensive winemaking at it. Whether it's just, we're going to pass through the vineyard 3 times to harvest at different bits to get, grapes at different stages of ripeness on different days. It might be a use of barrels. It might be we're going to do some more complex winemaking in smaller vessels where we do one yeast on one or one temperature on another. You can bring in more quality. So the question then of how much of that quality is coming from the soil is a difficult one to answer. But I think the thing that's undeniable is that this has been measured and tested over time, over centuries and centuries. And there is a reason why people fight over that field versus the field with practically the same soil growing practically the same grapes 2 feet away from it. And people have sought over the years to try to really understand what that terroir means. How much of it comes from the soil versus how much of it comes from the winemaking, I haven't got an answer to that. But
well, I think there's a question to be asked, isn't there? That I prefer wine 6.
Yeah, I prefer wine 6. Yep.
But when we put wine of the night up, I think wine 6 will come higher than wine 5. Okay, so I'm going to put that as my guess.
It's
but
delicious, that isn't it?
When we announce the prices, and I don't want to say, so I'm going to use Côte d'Or Châteauneuf de Pape as an example.
Yeah.
Some people must have a Châteauneuf de Pape. I want to have a Châteauneuf de Pape, and that Châteauneuf de Pape is 45 quid.
Yeah.
That same person makes a Côte de Rhône for 15 quid.
Mm-hmm.
Is it as good?
No.
Is it as premium?
So one
is
becomes
it delicious?
That special occasion wine,
but would I rather spend £45 on one bottle or £45 on three bottles
of still a nice wine?
And that's not my decision to tell anyone what they should do. But this will be one price. This will be the next price, and then the Grand Cru will be the next.
A lot of it comes down to how much you value those different flavour things, and also how much you've got to spend at that moment.
It's the same as anything. When we get to this level, we're not talking the supermarket off the store. It's not commodity wine anymore. It's luxury wine. Yeah. It absolutely is. And that's the thing. A Ferrari.
Yes.
Yeah? Yep. It has 4 wheels.
Yep. And it loses Lewis Hamilton races.
It has an engine.
Yes.
So does a Vauxhall Corsa.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's would I rather be driving a Ferrari around? Also, no.
Well,
love a Vauxhall Corsa.
You can now get cars. It's not even a question of how fast does it go. Like if you're going to pick a way of measuring this particular product, you can always find something. So you to go and buy a modern day, performance Tesla Model 3, an electric car that does 0-60 in 2.9 seconds, and you put it next to a Ferrari Testarossa from the 1980s, which probably is like about 4.5-5 seconds, the Tesla will destroy it in a straight line. But what will make you feel better? And it's not all about these kind of things, and everyone's preferences are personal. And some people will look and go, I don't want a Ferrari, for God's sake, I just want to get from A to B. And that is totally fine.
And mine's the same. I just want to get trashed.
Jamie's really funny because in the world of wine, you generally speaking, I wouldn't say you're snobby, but your taste preference is towards the kind of low high end. So you aren't into it's got to be a 99 point Robert Parker wine. You're not like that.
I'm all right with 96.
Yeah, but when he goes off and has beer, he's totally fine with a Carling or something, or a Bud Light.
Miller Lights.
Miller Light. Oh, you boycotting Bud Light?
Well, if anyone wants to sponsor our wine tasting club, my friends at Miller Coors. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no. So it's very hard. But right, okay. Time for some comments. I want to know what you guys think. I think you'll probably prefer certainly if you prefer that, but you might not. I don't know. I'm all ears. What are your views, and how much extra do you think the Grand Cru you could justify over the cost. So yeah, pop a number of pounds
Put
more,
a multiple,
a multiple. Yeah, a
multiplier.
multiple. That's a good idea for the Premier Cru versus the Village level. I don't know, or it's not even Village level, is it?
No, it's just Bourgogne
AOC. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So.
I don't know what I'd think. It's an interesting
My
question.
thing is, you know, for anyone who came on today that goes, Chablis ain't my thing, not Chablis, Chardonnay ain't my thing, be anyone from the ABC. Have you found something you go, even if Chardonnay's not your new favourite, is there something you go,
have you got more of an appreciation?
If I was going to have a Chardonnay, I've now got a style that I quite happily have. We got 3.5 times.
3.5 times. Wow, that's good. That's a good start.
Is that how much more you pay for your subscription to the Online Wine Tasting Club? Thank you, George. That's wonderful. So while this is going through, do you think people can sit, have a little look at the tasting notes, and then
let's bring these up because we haven't looked at these properly yet, have we? Now, isn't that fascinating? I mean, I just like the word yes, yes. They do still. These are definitely old world wines, so you can have these slightly musty subnotes. There are
Helen's
small...
point is brilliant. Sorry, I'm just interrupting.
Yeah, no.
But it's the right wine for the right occasion, the right time.
The right occasion, definitely. And like you say, I'm not going to open a Chateauneuf du Pape midweek for a nice meal, but I would open a Côte du Rhône. But if I've got some friends around, I would love to open a Chateauneuf du Pape. I'd love it more if they brought me one to open up with it.
Exactly.
But yeah, special occasion, definitely. Yeah.
It's the right wine with the right food with the right people at the right time, and I think that's hugely important. But yeah, but can we? I don't know.
That's another good point. Drinking wine versus food wine, because if you are having that food, it really does benefit from having a bit more.
This has more of the, the wine for me is much more fruit driven. It's light, it's easy going, and that wet gravel. I had this kind of like gunflint kind of almost smokiness.
Isn't it funny how many of the wines, well, we've seen Werther's Original as a tasting note on a couple of them, and that caramelized side that you often get for these, like that mixture of that butter, because it's butterscotch, isn't it? Werther's Original, basically.
They've put my new tagline at the bottom there. That's me. Liquid elegance
Vanilla.
and liquid elegance and intelligence. That's brilliant.
So I also love the fact that we're all sat here going, we like this. Right, how much more? We know it's a rarer wine, so it's worth more than the Bourgogne one. We've got a tasting note there worth 50% less. So someone is not a fan of vanilla, and that's totally fine. But I definitely got the sort of the riper fruit. I had a pineapple, a sort of a burnt pineapple salsa with some pork tacos last night, and sorry, all these tasting notes are reminding me of it. It was really lovely. Thank you to my wife for doing that.
Hint of dung.
Someone's not a big fan of it, and that is fine again.
Right, so do you think we should move to the quiz while people finish up their Chardonnays?
I think that's a great idea.
And put your notes and your things in the chat while we go to the quiz.
So if you haven't joined our quiz before, again, if you've not been submitting tasting notes, I will just pop this up so you can scan the QR code with your phone, unless you're watching it on your phone, in which case that will stop it. I
would like to make a note. I'd like Daria to calm down. 2 months in a row, calm down. You're just showing off now.
Yeah. Pop in a few silly answers.
But so we'll give you a minute to get in. Should I talk about what's coming next, or have you got something to say?
I was just going to say something quite interesting. So
you say it's quite interesting. We'll let them be the judge of that.
We were talking about acidity. Both of these wines have about half the acidity than practically all of the other ones. 6.5. That one again.
Low acid.
So it is, and that one 6, 7. Yeah. All of them were around 6.5. These ones are all both around 3.2, 3.1. So, and especially given that it's come from a cooler region,
you would expect the acidity to be higher.
Yeah. So there are a couple of different reasons that could be. One, they could have been left to hang for longer, and as you let them hang for longer, the acidity does drop. Or those guys could have stuffed a bit of extra acid in because they were aiming for a target value, which it does happen. Of course, it happens in the winery. But I suspect there's a combination of a bit of both. So that is a really bizarre fact about that. But alcohol, they're about the same again, 12.5, 13.
Well, I think we've got loads of lower
acidity. Let's get ready for the quiz then. Okay, we'll razz through this one. In the context of Chardonnay, what does ABC stand for? Is it aromatic, buttery, and creamy, or always be careful, anything but Chardonnay, or appellation, batonnage, or clonal selection? Great question.
When did clonal selection get a French accent on it?
Clonal selection. There's the selection massale, of course. We could talk about
extra I.
I think it's the extra I that's definitely that. So 86% say anything but Chardonnay. And I think I like the people who've gone with aromatic, buttery, and creamy, or appellation, batonnage, clonal selection. So,
but no one needs to be careful with Chardonnay.
Oh, the other thing we didn't mention, if you're not joined us before, you get points for being speedy. So obviously the correct answer was that, but Sophia was the quickest on the trigger against some very, very speedy people. We will go to the next question. Which of these do not... God!
To be fair, it's nothing to do with you. I don't know why you're making this about you.
All right. Which of these don't belong?
And you also don't need to tell the story.
Puy-Fumé, Saint-Véran, and Chablis. He's basically having a go at me because I got two of these confused. So I'm sure it doesn't come into it. Puy-Fumé, Puy-Fumé, Saint-Véran, or Chablis. One of these does not belong. I'm guessing it might because one of them is not a Chardonnay. And if I got it confused, you shouldn't feel bad about getting this question.
So it was Puy-Fumé, because Puy-Fumé is Sauvignon Blanc from the Loire. The rest are all Chardonnay based.
Indeed.
Where's the people at? Where's the winners?
Where's the winners? It is Sophia.
Still there, but there's a second in it.
Second in it now.
Oh, there's 8 seconds between first and fifth. It's so close.
It's getting close. It's getting close. Okay, let's move on to question numéro 3. Which soil type is most associated with Chardonnay production?
Right. This is most associated. Yeah. None of you. Oh, I know there's some schist there.
Yeah. Or they were talking about marl, weren't they, on the
marvelous.
Yeah, marvelous. Clay, limestone, gravel, or sand. It's really interesting as well to note that there's this link between the soil in Kent and the soil in
because it goes down underneath and back up.
Exactly. It's the English Channel is kind of in the middle of that
there's
bit,
a bit of
which
mix
eroded
here,
away.
But the answer we were looking
Burgundy
for was
overall
limestone
it
or
was
Kimmeridgian soil.
Sophia retains in the lead. It's tight. There's lots of 3 out of 3s there. Okay, which of the following is terms used for mixing the lees to add texture to Chardonnay? Batonnage, pumping over, le mixy, or malolactic fermentation?
Do you like a bit of mixy?
Le mixy.
Was that
I've not got this up high up on the screen. Let's do that. That's better.
Is that what?
It's because I was on a different tab of my browser.
Do you do the mixy? Is that your wine making technique?
We should. It's necessary to do le mixy, but we have got the answers in, and batonnage is correct. It is where you stick in your baton and you stir it around, and then you do le mixy.
Oh, you mixy.
Sophia,
there's 3 seconds.
Oh, she's stretching out here. She's stretching out. Okay, which of the Chardonnay clones might you find in Western Australia? Is it gin, or rum, vodka, or scotch? This is a very sensible question.
Oh, if you know, if you don't know,
We need to get you a faster internet connection, Helen. I'm sorry about that.
That Darius called it early.
I'll try not to do my best. Excellent. And it is the leading one is gin,
and it is gin,
which is correct.
Which you
it
find
is correct
in Margaret River, one of my favourite styles of Chardonnay.
Yar. Okay, the wine giant has jumped into the lead. That was a very speedy answer there. Very impressive. Okay, next question. We are doing a mental. Now I see. I should have read through these questions. I need to do this a bit more. Where are we doing the Mentos tasting from? Italy, Australia, France, or South Africa?
I just love when you
don't know.
I put the ridiculous questions up. You're like, how have you written that? What is wrong with you, sir?
Yeah, I often do dive in and try to add a silly question myself, but I didn't on this occasion because I was trying to edit videos still. Okay. Correctly, 83% have guessed South Africa.
Absolutely.
Moving.
So that is going to be a brilliant.
It's going to be so good.
6 wines from the same producer.
So and we'll
talk about that after the quiz.
Later, after the quiz. Let's move on. Next question. Sophia remains.
But
she's back in the lead. That was punchy.
This is.
What is Kniperle. Is it oh, is that presumably just Kniperle? Is it a grape related to Chardonnay? Is it a town in Burgundy where Chardonnay was first discovered? Is it the local name for Chardonnay in Andorra, or is it the original style of press used to make Chardonnay? Nipele, or is it? No, I'm not going to make that joke. Okay.
Welcome to the 1% club. Do you want to hazard a guess?
I genuinely had no idea.
So
no.
Chardonnay, because of its parentage, has so many half siblings. It's got this. I'm like, what is the most ridiculous grape I could find in the book that I want to know?
Was that well, that's definitely one to separate people. So yeah, I have not, I'm afraid, heard of
what has this done?
This is
no.
It's a great evener. So Sophia and the Wine Giant fighting it out here with Andre just behind. Let's get the next question up. The town of Chardonnay is in Burgundy, but where? Chablis?
I realise I spelled Chardonnay wrong there.
Côte Chalonneuse, right. So Chablis, Côte de Beaune. There is a town called Chardonnay in Burgundy.
Yes, there is.
The more you learn.
Right. Forgive
Chablis,
my
Côte de Beaune,
poor spellings of French stuff.
Côte Chalonneuse
or Maconnais. I've messed my. I do not do French there, do I? But
non, c'est vrai. The town of Chardonnay.
You want to hazard a guess?
Nope, not a clue.
It's in the south.
It's in the south. All right, let's go. Côte Chalonneuse.
Nah.
No, Maconnais. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, well, gosh, another divisive question. Harry goes into the lead.
From nowhere.
From nowhere. Get in, Harry. Excellent.
Are we final question? Yeah,
final question. The decider.
Don't get it wrong, Harry.
Which of these is Giant Steps Vineyard, Badger Hill, Wombat Creek, Kangaroo Road, or Wallaby Terrace? They sound like destinations in Neighbours.
They are.
They are. Exactly,
Harold Bishop lives.
Yeah, so 5 Wallaby Terrace.
Also, where does Harold Bishop live?
Yep.
So we did shout about it loads, but we'll see.
And yeah, apologies about the fact there is a slight gap between obviously when our video gets through the system and when the thingy gets through the system. So stay alert. Wombat Creek is of course the correct answer. Harry gets it. Congratulations,
send us an email and we can send a tasting to a friend or family member of your choice.
Yep.
Let's bang up wines of the night.
Yep. So I'm going to remove that so that you can't see it, so it doesn't encourage tactical voting. Well, what a cool tasting. Sorry for those of you who love red wines and don't like white wines, but you probably click the skip button. And just to remind you that if you do ever want to skip a tasting and you're a member of the club, don't, because you might be surprised. But also if you're away or something, just drop us a note, or you can go into your profile setting and there is a link through. It seems to keep moving around because Shopify never keeps things in the same place. But let's see how the Wine of the Nights is doing. It's quite tight, isn't it? Wow, yes. It's jumped around a couple of times already.
So while this is running on, I've got a couple of things to go. We have lined up our tastings for the rest of the year.
This is maybe a first for us at this point. Yeah,
so next month we are doing a KWV South African tasting. Ooh. The following month we are doing wines of Slovakia, and we have the guest host Naughty Grape coming to join us. For that.
Now don't shy away from that one, because there will be grapes you've never heard of, and the wines are really cool. We tasted through a whole bunch of them with the people who are joining us, like the Naughty Grape guys.
We've got that. Then in November we're going to be doing an old vines tasting. Still waiting to line up who the guest host would be, but there's maybe have a guest host on that. Mm-hmm. And then in December we are doing wines of Ukraine.
Yeah, so we've had a few requests through saying, look, we've done quite a few of the sort of the standard areas. Let's get out there. Let's do a bit more exploring. So that is a really cool set that we've got coming up. And we've got some great guest hosts coming in who know these places and can offer a bit more of a sort of a specialized view than we can. So I think that's going to be really cool. I like the idea of a Syrah tasting. I think that's an excellent idea.
I prefer a Syrah tasting.
Slovakia is going to be really interesting because, of course, it was part of Czechoslovakia, and I've had some great Czech wines
in that,
as well.
There's whites, reds, rosés. There's a sweet wine in there. Slovakia make a Tokaj. When I was first told about Slovakian Tokaj, I thought someone was misspeaking to me because I've had Hungarian
Tokaj. Doesn't come from.
There's some cool stuff happening. For those of you who are on our mailing list, you may well have got the email about wine badges. It's our new slowly building community group.
Yeah.
You put some money in every month. We top you up with more money so you can spend more money on wine.
It's definitely not inspired by any of the other people who do this kind of thing, but it's more because what we're going to be lining up is some, behind the scenes content, and it's going to be a bit more of a personal thing. So we have all these fun chats every month with you. We're going to be having a little WhatsApp group. We're going to do some special offers of wines that we can't get.
We can get.
Well, we can get wines that
no one else can get.
But effectively, when we get offered something a bit special, different, we will go, right, here is the
wine badges first
for you guys. We just wanted to make it a bit more of a personal thing to say thank you to some of the people who trusted us and buy their wines from us rather than Sainsbury's, which I think is there are, if you want to go at sort of midweek, I just don't care wine, of course. We are never going to be the people who sell you a £5 bottle of wine. I'm sorry, it doesn't work with us having to ship them to you.
But if you get enough credit on wine badges, it will feel like a £5.
It will feel like it, because of course, if you can save up to £50 a month of free wine credit if you are paying us a lot. If you drink as much as I do, I think I might join it myself. Anyway, so the wine of the night by it's quite predictable, isn't it? But it jumped between the top two about 4 times.
I was not surprised. Like the top one I get, that's not how I would have done the rest of them.
No, I'm really surprised. So it was in first place the obviously the Premier Cru Chablis. I'm not surprised by that. And number 2, against a very, very tight battle, was the Great Heart from South Africa, the Mulliner, which I think means, and it should. I'm not going to mention any of the others because it was all quite tight in there behind there. So
let's pop the prices up and see what people think
are there. So I'm really shocked at how how well priced the Simpsons Gravel Castle is, and I think they're very tactical about what they do. They know that where that wine sits. It's a very well-made, carefully made wine, but it's at a great price for English Chardonnay because so many of them are around about £25 mark now. And they can only do that because they're selling some of the premium ones like the Roman Road. We have some of the Roman Road in.
Yeah, we've got some Roman Road as well.
Is that in the collection or should I add it to it?
Oh, well, I'll do it after this.
I'll do it after that.
But we've got a dozen bottles of the Roman Road.
A dozen bottles of the Roman Road. We've got the massively award-winning, gold medal winning at the IWC, if I remember correctly. Great Heart at £30. And actually, I tell you what, for a Premier Cru Chablis these days, that's not horrendous.
Well, all I'd say is
people were saying it was
3.5 times. It's less than twice.
Yeah, exactly. So
drink it.
Yeah, I might have to get a couple of bottles of that for myself as well. I hope you guys have had fun. I've got to get back to the chat. So for Old Vines, do we know Katie from Domain Jones? She's obviously we pack a lot of her stuff for Naked. She is on a mission to buy Old Vines. We actually sponsored one of her Old Vines a while back. So we had a little sort of picture of our vine with a little name badge, which was great. Looking forward to Ukraine. Yeah, I really, the Ukrainian wine scene, I think has jumped forward leaps and bounds as the country got a bit more attention and as the people supported it. The quality has improved great. This is a key point. We want to be in that position where you can just have a chat with us about the wine on Wine Badgers.
Exactly. So you can always pick up the phone or send an email and go, Jamie, I've got £48 million in my Wine Badgers credit. What do I spend it on?
What do I spend it on? I've got this person coming over. And they don't like Chardonnay.
And it doesn't need to be what you see on the website. I want to get this. I'll get the, and we'll do tastings. And, I did an in-person tasting for a club member last weekend, which was brilliant. We did a garden party with wines that you don't usually see. 30 people drank some great wine. So, we can get out and about. We can come and visit you. We can do, we can get out from behind the screen every now and again. But anyway, it has been brilliant tasting.
Super fun. A lot of fun. Thank you so much for your amazing contributions on the tasting notes and great work on quite a tricky quiz there. So, I haven't. Let me just have one last check to see if I can find the. No, it has gone missing. So, I'm not going to finish with the bag of bottles. I'm just going to say thank you all so much. We've had a wonderful night, and we look forward to seeing as many of you as possible for a brilliant value tasting with the KWV